Recording. There we go.
Hello again. Okay, so we are at Discourse 9. That's the correct Roman numeral, right? 9?
Yes, 9.
Okay, this was channeled October 30th, 1932. We'll start with the invocation. Thou mighty, all-powerful, active presence, God, we ever grow in deep praise, thanks, and gratitude to thee for thy life, thy light, thy intelligent power manifest everywhere in the universe, for thy active presence manifest in the body, mind, body, home, world, and affairs of everyone. Enable us to understand and radiant power, always active in our world, affairs, and business, knowing no single activity can go wrong. For thou dost govern all action, and thy love and justice guide regulating all. Thou mighty supreme ruler of the universe, whose law is justice, whose power is invincible, protect America and thy great blazing loving presence. Reveal to the authorities of the United States of America any wrong activities. I am the mighty channel of justice, claiming all now and for all time that they serve only the cause of America and the light of God. No human thought shall enter it. No human hand shall be raised against her, for she is sealed within the love of the great ascended host of light forever. Mighty God of the universe, thy love, light, wisdom, intelligence, and justice shall fill every office in the land. All political graft shall be wiped out forever, and thou shalt reign through thy creation, through thy children, and perfect justice to all. I bring you greetings from the great host, ever watching over and ministering through their divine radiation to heal, bless, enlighten, and prosper all who accept. And so it is.
So I found it interesting that we were talking about forgiveness and gratitude, and we were talking about business things, and that's exactly what was in the invocation.
I think that's happened just about every time.
Yeah, we have a discussion before, and then when we read it, it's like, this applies. How does this apply? So.
Okay, the discourse. One of the great needs of individuals and even of sincere students today is to feel the necessity of giving time, morning and evening, to sincere meditation, to the stilling of the outer activity, that the inner presence may come forth unobstructed. So this is saying morning and evening, a sincere meditation, which is the stealing of the outer activity, that the inner presence may come forth unobstructed. That's a nice reminder. Meditation really means feeling the active presence of God. So no matter what is going on around us, that we can feel that mighty presence within, because it comes forth unobstructed. Therefore, when one attempts to enter meditation, he cannot drag all of the disturbance that has beset him during the day along with him. Therefore, consciously remove from the feeling and intention every disturbing thing. Enter into your meditation to feel the presence of God, and do not revolve your troubles. When the statement was given, know the truth, and the truth shall set you free, it meant the recognition, acceptance, and activity of the mighty presence I am. So know the truth, and the truth shall set you free is that the mighty I am present. It's like, if we know that, then no matter what is going on in the outside world, that we're okay because of that mighty presence. First, know I am is the first principle and absolute certainty of freedom now. Second, know I am the active presence governing all manifestation in my life, the world, perfectly. Then I have entered into the truth which shall bring all freedom, because the truth is the mighty iron presence. I must relate a thing that would be most laughable if it were not really serious. You would chastise it and rebel considerably if your little pet dog continued to carry bones from the alley into your living room. You would think you were doing that which is very much out of place. Do you know, beloved students of truth, that when you allow your minds to dwell upon disturbing things or experiences, you're doing a great deal worse than bringing bones into the living room? The unfortunate thing with students and individuals, which seems so difficult for them to understand, is never under any circumstance try to hold the water that has gone over the will. So like, as if a dog were carrying a bone into your living room every day, you're constantly focused on it. What is that doing? You know, it's causing anger, frustration, like being annoyed. Like, what's the
Plus,
purpose of?
that's in your forefront of your thought too, which continually manifests to bring
Yes.
the dog to continually bring the bone into the living room.
And it's what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It's just, I don't know, just puts you in a different state, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's insignificant. That's what I was thinking. Like, a dog bringing a bone into the living room every day, it's just insignificant.
Yeah.
Like, why would you? And just like everything that happens in our external world should also be insignificant. Like, if a dog were to carry a bone in your house every day, like, why waste your time?
Yeah.
Right. And so
and the disturbing thing is already over, right? So if it happened in the past and you're continually thinking about it, all you're doing is bringing it into the present, which you should just leave it in the past, because it's done, it's over with. New day, start over.
yes, and I that like we have, is it like 80% of the same thoughts that we had yesterday we have again today, because we programmed ourselves to. And
Yep.
if illness and dis-ease is created by our thoughts, and we're having the same 80 to 90% of the same thoughts every day, then we are a continuance of that dis-ease in our body, because we have the same thoughts every day.
Absolutely.
Deepak Chopra said he did this research that like a cancerous tumor like looks different, that tumor 1 year later, there is not a single thing the same about. Nothing is the same about that tumor. It's all completely different. It's a completely different tumor than what it started with.
Yeah.
Because the thoughts that you had kept it there, kept it growing, and kept it moving. So if you didn't continue to have those thoughts about the dog carrying the bone in your house every day, then would that tumor go away?
Yeah.
So, never under any circumstance try to hold the water that has gone over the will. In other words, the unpleasant experiences, losses, or any imperfection that has passed over your will of experience to the present time should never be held close to you. They have gone over the will. Forgive and forget them. To give and forgive is godlike indeed. So to give and to forgive is godlike indeed. So that forgiveness, when you're saying you're sorry, that forgiveness is godlike. And saying I'm sorry is asking for forgiveness. So there's your answer. For illustration, if an individual or group of individuals has gone into a business undertaking and through lack of understanding, it has failed or gone to pieces, it is always because of inharmony in the mental attitude and feelings. If every individual in such an association would take his stand and hold it, that there was only God in action, only the most perfect success would come out of it. Since the individual has free will, he will not control his own thoughts and feelings. He will wreck things for himself and others. Such is the great law, unless every individual corrects his own thoughts and feelings and keeps it so. Everyone who manifests in the physical form today has made plenty of mistakes, sometime, somewhere. So let no one take the attitude, I am more holy than thou. But each one's first attitude should be to call on the law of forgiveness. And if he be feeling or sending criticism, condemnation, or hate to another of God's children, a brother or sister, he can never have enlightenment or success until he calls on the law of forgiveness. Further than this, he must say to that person to whom he was feeling disturbance in any way silently, I send to you the fullness of the divine love of my being to bless and prosper you. This attitude is the only release and freedom from the seeming failures of the outer activity. For individuals to continually revolve in their and discuss a business or project that has disintegrated will surely in the end destroy themselves if they do not face about and through calling of the law of forgiveness find completion or complete conscious release from the entire situation. So that, like when we were talking about that Ho'oponopono prayer, it's the law. I mean, saying I'm sorry and that whole prayer, wouldn't that not work with the law of forgiveness to find complete conscious release from the entire situation? Like,
Yeah, and that's what it says. It's healing the wounds, but often strengthens the bonds between people because you're admitting that you did something that you were not, that what you did, said, or whatever was not at that higher vibration, and therefore you're trying to correct it by allowing them to know and yourself to know that you were in the wrong.
and then that would just put you back in alignment,
Yeah, yeah.
For an individual to hold an attitude of revenge for any seeming wrong, imaginary or other. I like that it says imaginary or other because your perception is your imagination. Can only bring upon himself incapacity of mind and body. The old yet wondrous statement brought down to us through the ages, unless you are willing to forgive, how can you be forgiven? Is one of the mightiest laws for use in human experience. Oh, that individuals and many students could only see how they hold to themselves the things they do not want by allowing the mind to revolve upon the discordant things that have passed and cannot be helped through the outer senses. The greatest thing that all mankind are seeking in reality is peace and freedom, which is always the doorway to happiness. There is only one possible way to receive this, which is to know God, the I am presence, and that this presence is the only acting intelligence in your life and world at all times. Then stand by this and live it. One of the most amazing things that that it has been my experience to witness since coming into an ascended state is the disoriented idea of freedom financially and otherwise. There is but one sure certain rock which to build your eternal financial freedom, and that is to know and feel with every fiber of your being, I am the wealth, the opulence, and the substance already perfected in my world. I am the wealth, the opulence, and the substance already perfected in my world of every constructive thing that I can possibly conceive of or desire. I need to write that down and plaster it every.
Invisible, the invisible too. Thing that stuck in my head is that sometimes we feel bad about something that we may have said or done, but that other person doesn't even realize that we feel bad about it. And so then we start telling all these stories about things that happen, or even the vice versa. We feel bad because somebody else said or something, but because of our own stories, we make up these stories. The other person is not even aware we feel that way. You know, both ways. So we make up this invisible story that no one's aware of it but ourselves.
Mhm.
And so that invisible part of it, I think, has more impact than anything else.
It's true. This is true financial freedom, and we'll bring it as surely as it is maintained, and it will not get away, I assure you. On the other hand, man may use, knowingly or unknowingly, enough of this God I am presence or God energy to accumulate through the outer activity millions of dollars, but wherein his certainty of keeping it. I assure you, it is possible for any being in the physical world to keep wealth that is accumulated without his being aware that God is the power producing and sustaining it. You see, before you constant illustrations of great wealth taking wings overnight, as it were, thousands within the past 4 years have met this experience. Even after the seemingly loss had incurred, had they been able to take their firm conscious stand, I am the wealth, God in action, now manifest in my life, my world, the way, the door would have immediately opened for them to have again received abundance. Why do I say again to have received abundance? Because they had built the momentum and had attained great confidence. Therefore, all requirements were at hand, ready for further use. But in most instances, they allowed great discouragement, often hatred and condemnation to enter in, which shut and locked the door to further progress. You know, I had like a little thought with this is that when everybody says that, like Tony Robbins too, right? That one of the things on his list of things is to give. And everybody says, like, when you're giving, it just shifts the energy, you know, like giving will give you that energy, that emotion within yourself to keep that door open.
And I think it's when it gets to the point when you start giving with expectations to get something back. So I think it's important to give with no expectation. So
Like
to share,
Wayne Dyer would, like, on his birthday, he would give like $100 bills away, but he wouldn't even, like a couple of his people do,
yeah,
but I never heard Wayne Dyer tell that story. I heard Reed Tracy tell that story, and he was Wayne's publicist,
yeah.
you know.
So I think that's like my mom. I don't think the lady will ever. My mom always pays for this one lady to get her hair cut and her hair done. And it's not that the lady doesn't have the money to do it. It's just that she doesn't take the time for herself. So my mom will call this one hairdresser and say, okay, it's time for Jerry to get her, Jerry's her name. It's time for her to get her haircut again. Can you call and say a little birdie has paid for your haircut and set her up an appointment and have her come in and do her hair? And so, and then just to see the expression on this lady's face when she comes, when she's back out in the public, knowing that her hair looks good and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff, it just puts a good feeling in your heart just to see
Yeah.
the expression on her face and not to expect anything in return or even to tell her who's doing it. And she'll always ask my mom, are you doing this? And my mom's like, no, it's not me. I don't know what you're talking about, but that sort of thing. And I've had to correct my mom every once in a while. I say a lot of stories about my mom, but my mom loves to fold clothes. So she just loves to fold clothes, and that's kind of one of her things. So she gets a load of clothes out of the dryer, she'll fold them. And so, but then she'll get upset because you don't tell her, if the clothes are folded, sometimes you don't tell her, thank you for folding my clothes. And I had to get on to my mom one time and I said, I know you're expecting a thank you for it, but why are you doing it? Are you doing it just because you like to fold clothes? If that's the case, then that should be your thank you right there, is that you can fold the clothes and not get upset if somebody doesn't come out of their way and say, oh, thank you for folding my clothes. Because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. If you're doing it just because you love to do it, then just do it and don't expect anything else from it. But if you're doing it to get a thank you from it, then you're going to be disappointed every time, because most people aren't going to say thank you. And it's not because they're not thinking it. It's just, that's just how things are. And so I think that's where we have to really, that's where I find myself right now. Every time I do something and I get disappointed, is like, why are you disappointed? And again, remind yourself, why are you doing this? Were you doing this because you wanted something from it? Or are you doing this just because it's the right thing to do?
Mhm. Yeah, so I've also heard the talk about this in forms of even like relationships, like rub my back and I'll rub yours, right?
Yeah,
And the wife, spends an hour and gives the husband a massage, and then it's the husband's turn to rub the wife's feet, and he's like, rah, 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 okay, I'm done,
yeah,
or get their feelings hurt. And then that kind of stops the progress of that momentum, right? When in reality, when you give something and you don't have the patient, you're going to get that back, but it may not be from that specific person. You may, someone may call you with like a certificate for a free massage, or you may win something like that. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to come back to you. We just have to release the expectation of exactly who it's coming from, you
and then
know?
don't ask anything in return, because even with a spouse, I think sometimes, you just rub somebody's back for an hour, they're relaxed. They don't want to spend, an hour rubbing your feet right afterwards, But if you continually give without expectation, don't get upset about it, then those people are more likely to give back to you at a different time.
For sure. And
Okay, where were
let,
we?
let me assure you, at the top of 107,
Okay,
beloved of God, there is no outer condition ever existed in this world so bad, so disastrous, that there is the I am, the active presence of God with the external strength and courage of the universe to again rebuild you into freedom, independence financially, and every way. I especially want the students who come under this radiation to understand this, because in this day of falling thrones and governments, individual fortunes, and otherwise, they need to know and understand in their wealth. If their wealth has flown away through ignorance of understanding, then the I am presence in them, God in action, is the sure rebuilder of their faith, confidence, wealth, or to whatever they wish to direct their conscious attention. Thus, they allow this mighty inner energy to flow into their desire, which is the only power that ever accomplished anything. Every individual who has seemingly expressed a loss of wealth to any degree should immediately use the marvelous statement of Jesus, I am the resurrection and the life. Of my business, my understanding, or whatever thing I wish to focus my attention. I tell you frankly, beloved students and individuals, there is not the slightest hope for you in heaven or earth, so long as you persist in holding within your consciousness thoughts and feelings of criticism, condemnation, or hate of any description, and that includes mild dislike. And I think that's where that Ho'oponopono prayer comes in again as well, right? With like, when you say that, like, you're that's a tool for sending it to that flame to consume it, right? That prayer consumes any dislike that you've had. This leads us to the very vital point that you are concerned only with your own activity and your world. It is not your province to judge another, for you do not know the forces playing upon another, nor the conditions. You know only the angle that you see of it. And I tell you that if an individual should be entirely innocent of any intent to wrong another, the individuals who sense criticism, condemnation, or hate to such an one are doing worse than committing physical murder. Why is this so? Because thought and feeling are the only creative power. While such thoughts and feelings may not touch or harm their objective, they must return and bring with them the conditions sent out by the individual who sent them forth, and always with accumulated energy. So an individual who sends criticism, condemnation, or hate to another is doing worse than committing a physical murder.
Yeah.
So after all, the one who holds vicious thoughts to another is in reality but destroying himself, his business, and his affairs. There is no possible way of averting it except for the individual to awaken and consciously reverse the currents. Let us go one step further. Throughout all ages, there have been business associations in which there were only or possibly two with the deliberate intent to do wrong. And through this association, a number of individuals absolutely innocent. Okay, you hear me?
Yeah.
There is no possible way of averting it except for the individual to awaken and consciously reverse the currents. Let us go one step further. Throughout all ages, there have been business associations in which there were one or possibly two with a deliberate intent to do wrong. And through this association, a number of individuals absolutely innocent of any wrong intent have been imprisoned. I now tell you, as an unfailing law that cannot be changed, that the individual or individuals who cause innocent persons to be incarcerated, thus depriving them of their freedom of God, of action as God intended, will bring that exact experience which they have desired for another into their own experience, even unto the third and fourth embodiment following. That's pretty powerful, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you take someone's freedom, that will carry into your own experience, even into the third and fourth embodiment following.
So is that like, I mean, they talk in embodiment, like your next lifetime, next lifetime.
That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Into the third embodiment following.
Unless you reverse that current.
Exactly. And yeah. And taking someone's freedom, I'm sure, doesn't only mean, like, this specifically says, you know, one or two people were at fault, but now the whole group goes to prison, and prison takes someone's freedom. But what other things could be done to someone that causes them to lose their freedom? Like, there's an unlimited amount of things that could happen to someone that could
somebody, not, you know, hating somebody, not communicating with them. I mean, you think about, even if it's not a physical freedom, a mental thing, you know, that you cause some sort of
some sort of push the person not feel good about themselves, or if you know what I mean, like, maybe this person done that, but they have been in this emotionally abusive relationship, and so they don't any longer have what they need within them. And someone calls that. So if you are the cause of that, you can expect to have that happen to you, which basically would be karma, but not the word.
Or even seeing it and not doing anything or saying anything or helping.
Yeah, so many different things. But like you said, like stopping that momentum of that, you know, and forgiveness. For myself, I would rather 1,000 times be deliberately shot down than to be an instrument of depriving any of God's children of their liberty. So, like, shoot me down now before I hurt anybody else, because I'm going to have to deal with the consequences of that for many lifetimes, I feel like is what that's saying. There is no greater crime in human experience today than the prevailing use of circumstantial, for in 99 cases out of 100, it is afterwards found to be entirely wrong. Sometimes the truth is never known to the outer senses. So, beloved students, let no one seeking the light ever set himself up in judgment of another of God's children. Again, supposing someone we love very much seems to be going all awry, what is the first thing the outer would do? As a rule, to begin sitting in judgment and criticism, the most powerful thing that can and should be done for such an individual by everyone who knows anything of the circumstances is to pour out all their love and silently know I am God in action is the only control, intelligence, and activity within this brother or sister. So I am God in action is the only intelligence controlling intelligence and activity within this brother or sister. To keep silently speaking to that one's consciousness is the greatest help possible to be given. Many times to remonstrate verbally with an individual sets up a condition of antagonism, intensifying rather than erasing the activity, which silent work would be absolute certain to accomplish. So they're saying to speak silently. If you've done something to harm, to speak silently, pour out all of their love and silently know I am God in action is the only controlling intelligence and activity within this brother and sister. And it so much so reminds me of, I know you weren't there, but the word I am word I am word through this person, that it resolves this activity. I mean, that's just like using a violet flame, using the all-consuming flame. Many times,
sometimes when we approach people about certain things that we think they should know or not know or whatever, that they automatically get on the defensive instead of listening with an open heart and mind. And when they're on the defensive, they don't hear it anyway. So if you speak to them in silent on a soul level, you know, I am God in action, controlling the only controlling intelligence and activity within this brother and sister, that if you speak to them on a soul level and don't antagonize them, is the word they said, that you might eventually get through to them without saying anything, by example.
Like you're solving that issue without creating more problems, you know?
Right.
I remember Alicia had told me of an experience once to where her daughter was getting married and she was not looking forward to seeing her ex-husband, her daughter's dad, but she knew that she would, and she knew she had to see him, and she was more worried about him doing something to hurt her during that wedding process when they should just sit on other sides of the room from each other, you know. And yeah. she went into a meditation to ask her angels and her guides to go to his angels and his guides to work it out, you know, where she was able to put any of that aside. And that was a beautiful thing. And that is kind of what this reminds me of too.
Yeah, me too.
No one in the outer consciousness possibly know what the I am God presence in the other individual wishes to do. There are vital truths that, if maintained, would bring very great peace into the lives of individuals. Many lives with their attendant business efforts are ruined because there is lurking within the consciousness of the individual judgment, condemnation, or a feeling of some degree of hatred towards another. So we literally have to let that shit go. Like 100% guilty of like just thinking someone else has something more, comparing yourself to other people, like that's some degree of hatred. And in the last section, it even says, even if it's mild, like we have to get ourselves in a better place to where we can, like when I do an event and there are other crystal vendors, I usually try to speak to them and just wish them well, but I feel like there's enough abundance for everyone, you know? And it just always feels good. It feels like the right thing to do. And we all have mild feelings like that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's programmed into us, but I think too, I mean, especially going around looking at other vendors, you can see what they have. So if someone comes to you and you don't have it, you can send them to other people.
Mm-hmm. I
You're
try to familiar.
having a conversation with somebody and not just trying to sell them what you have, but having a conversation, connecting with those people so that they can know, like, and trust you, and then to be able to say, hey, you just talked about this, you might go over here and see this person because they may have what you need. I think there's plenty to go around. And if we believe in abundance, and this is an abundant world, we're the only ones that are putting limitations on ourselves, because we know that when we let it go, what we need shows up,
Exactly. Yep. There is perhaps no single element responsible for so many diseased conditions of body and mind as the feelings of hate sent out to another individual. There is no telling how this will react upon the mind and body of the sender. In one, it will produce one effect, and another, a different effect. Let it be here understood that resentment is but another form of hate, only a milder degree. But a mild degree does it also. A very wonderful thought to live in always is, I am the perfect creation, thought and feeling everywhere, present in the minds and hearts of individuals. It is a most marvelous thing. It not only brings rest and peace to yourself, but releases limitless gifts from the presence. Another is, I am the mighty law of divine justice and protection acting in the minds and hearts of individuals everywhere. You can apply and use this with enormous force and power in every way. Another is, I am divine love, filling the minds and hearts of individuals everywhere. As you think on this, you will understand what was done when this home was made a radiating center of the active presence of God. You will suddenly come into realization of the gigantic application of this. Everything in the life experience of humanity can be governed by the I am present. The use of the I am present is the highest activity that can be given. When you say I am, you set God into action, but there is a lot more to it, which you will come to realize when you feel and know the enormity of the use of this expression. Realize the enormous power of the I am to act in things of this kind. I am God, power almighty. There is no other power that can act. When you say and feel this, you liberate and lose the full activity of God. Another statement, the I am the conscious memory of these. Also, I am the conscious memory you can understand in the use of these things. When you say the I am presence, I am clothes me in my eternal transcendent garment of light, it actually does take place that moment. The presence that I am clothes me in my eternal, transcendent garments of light. It takes place in that moment.
So every time you
This-
say that, you need to think about that light just circling you.
Yes.
I am.
The secret place of the Most High is this: I am presence. The sacred things that are revealed to you are not to be cast forth, for they are as pearls. Know always, I am the perfect poise of speech and action at all times. Then the guard is always up, for I am the protecting presence. God's energy is always waiting to be directed. Inherent within the expression of the I am is the self-sustaining activity. Then you know there is no time. This brings you to the instantaneous action, and your precipitation will soon take place. Always preceding a manifestation, you will feel that absolute stillness. I am present. I am presence. Benediction.
Yep, benediction.
We give thanks, Almighty, I am present, for having entered into thy secret place. Let thy wisdom govern at all times. The dispensation of thy light. Let thy wisdom guard and direct our minds and bodies at all times, that they always act in perfect accord with thee. As thou art called forth into action, Almighty, I am presence. We know we are always charged at all times with thy mighty energy, and that it accomplishes all perfectly wherever it is sent. Some notes: legal affirmation for the one not in the midst of the case. Take the statement. So if someone's doing something to you, I am the law, I am justice, I am the judge, I am the jury. Knowing that I am all powerful, then I know that only divine justice can be done here. So next time we get pulled over, can we say, I am that officer? And we're done. Can't hear you.